All right, my friends, we are going to go tour a coffee plantation here this morning. So hop on in and let's go for a ride. All right, guys, we start this journey off here in Xalapa, Veracruz. Sit back and relax. So here, guys, we are driving through Coatepec. We're heading out to our dear friend's house at his coffee farm, Mr. Cliff. So here, guys, we are at the northwest end of Coatepec, right at the edge of town, as we make our way out to the coffee farm. So the road was getting a little bit rough here, my friends, and we were a little bit worried about bottoming out. So Roya and Jennifer had graciously volunteered to get out and walk up the hill a little ways. And luckily for them, our dear friends showed up behind us, and they were able to hop in with them in their fancy SUV, and that is them there in front of us, my friends. Chainsaw. Oh, it's here to the right. Okay. Yeah, this is good. We don't have to go up the hill. Thank God. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. Praise Jesus. We don't have to climb the hill.
He actually is a poodle. You actually a poodle. Yes, 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 yes. We love the doggy. Yes, we do. Everybody likes the doggy. Yes, they do. Everybody loves the doggy. Well, it was made by an old guy and his son, hand dug well. And he was the Coursera. At the top, it has brick on the side. But it's just flowers for the insects, and then for the birds, because the birds
and coffee, of course.
And the chalawite flowers and the leaves are great.
So the tree back there is a macadamia tree, he said.
Yes.
This one right here, right? Yeah.
There are some plantations here of just macadamia.
Yeah, we've been here since.
Called pergamino.
See, there's
I'm
coffee
missing
up
it.
above that you can
She's got
feel.
the skin on there.
And this little
They call
casita,
it pajilla.
this for drying coffee, is copied from the Association of Coffee Growers in Colombia called Scenic Coatepec. And this design is taken from their website, and it has the double advantage of it keeps the coffee dry 24/7, and it keeps the sun directly from being on the coffee.
On the beans, yeah.
Because if the sun is on the pergamino when it's drying, if it's on the pergamino directly, it will get above 36 degrees, which is the temperature of your skin.
Okay.
And above 36 degrees, the flavor goes down. The seed doesn't die, but the flavor goes down.
Yeah, yeah.
Study was done in Brazil.
Beautiful. So this organic.
Beautiful property.
My thanks.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Good job there finding this place. How did you find it?
Well, we had a real estate agent from Coatepec who found it, and it had coffee on it, so that's how we got into the coffee growing business. It had organic coffee to begin with.
80% of the work is finding the right.
We just continued.
Jen, did you see the papayas? Look at that. Wow.
That papaya is an accidental. And Mason, 10 years ago, threw his organic trash there, and there's the papaya.
That's the biggest papaya tree I've ever seen.
Well, it's not even
Wow.
the climate for papaya. So that's an accidental, and we can't use those papayas because the birds pick at them.
Right.
Oh,
And then when they get really ripe, they just fall down and
bust.
Ahí están, mira, hay dos ahí, otros.
So he was saying the main beams here, the three of them, come from Canada. And they were going to put a concrete roof on when the builder was building it. And then they did the price comparison back then, and it was cheaper to go with the wood roof. And yeah, the beams, there's three big cross beams there that come from Canada. So this is the workers' house here. And then this is their homestead here. So that's kind of interesting.
pulping machine, and you are going to by hand in a few minutes when we get in the terrace, you are going to depulp by hand exactly what this machine does. What it does is it despulparla. It squeezes it, and the seeds come out, and the seeds come out the front. The pulp goes out on the other side into a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of this cistern is where all of the pulp is, with the wheelbarrow, is dumped in the big pile, along with all of the scraps from the two kitchens, you know, all the peels and everything from the organic material from two kitchens goes into the compost. Anything that's organic, some of this stuff here might go in there. Anything that's organic goes in the compost. And it has a wall so that rainwater doesn't wash from the compost into the finca. There's a wall there, just a wall like this high, so that it doesn't wash whatever comes from the pulp that is decomposing, that doesn't get washed into there. And there is the cistern right here. And then the water gets pumped up to a rotoplas.
Well, as Cliff is saying, this is the wet process, because there's also a dry process.
Yes, this is the wet process, which you're gonna depulp. Well, nobody can say one is better than the other because they both win contests.
Yeah.
They both win contests. And so the real key to the coffee is the altitude, the soil, the variety of the coffee, and
Cotorra, ¿cómo se llama el amarillo?
Caturra.
Caturra, sí.
Caturra.
Sí, Caturra
amarillo.
es el
Amarillo,
robusto.
sí.
Es el robusto.
Okay, and these are 2 tanks. They're just cement boxes, which is where the coffee is fermented. Okay, you're going to depulp some coffee by hand.
What variety of, you have Bourbon or here, or what variety of coffee are most of your plants?
We have a variety called, be careful here because there's
a bomb.
Yeah.
there's dogabone out here. We have a variety that is now called Mundo.
Rather interesting. Pretty cool. I've never been to a coffee plantation before. First time.
This is an artisan
Been to tequila.
system, artisan method.
A plant that is
Very nice.
vigorous plant.
Mm-hmm.
Economical. They don't have the resources.
So here we got some beans drying, guys. They've got the roof on to keep the sun off them. Almost looks like a peanut.
Now this has, it's sweeter. but also is akin to a pea pod taste. So a sweet pea pod kind of taste to it. And I think they call that depulping. But we'll learn more about that soon.
No, they're not my favorite food.
El color que tiene.
No, hay unos papayas muchísimos.
Mi dol.
Comiendo.
And that means they need sunshine, they need water, and they need a lot of fertilizer. And the altitude helps keep it cold, which makes for good, smooth coffee. And these plants are very strong, and they resist the fungus, the Roya fungus. There's some there.
Is this, what do you call it, Maya?
Roya.
Roya.
The Roya.
Roya.
No, but your
That
variety.
yellow is the Roya. And these plants resist it. It's a special Roya. Roya.
Roya, no, it's
Roya.
Doble L.
Roya. It's a special hybrid that French biologists hybridized these varieties, about 50. They selected the Arabagos that they wanted to cross, and they made about 50 varieties. This is number 16. Across on the other side, we have number 18, number 19. We have down
Martita es
below.
con Y.
What kind of fertilizer do you use?
We use all 100% natural fertilizer, which comes from all these leaves, number one. All the birds, which you can't see, but you can hear if you are silent. More on the porch sometime. Silence, and you'll hear birds and also chickens. And the birds fly around, they eat insects, and they eat lots of fruit. We have fruit here, which is for us and for the birds. Guava, bananas. There's a papaya here that is just an accidental that got there when a mason threw his stuff off. Okay, and then these hybrids were originally made the way hybrids are made. They had two plants, different varieties that are isolated, and they cross-pollinate them. Then they can take and make little astillas, and they can clone them and get enough coffee from the clones to say, is this what we wanted? And they say, yes, this is what they planned. What the French biologists wanted, number one, was a plant that was resistant to the Roya. Yeah. They are very resistant to the Roya. They're very vigorous. They have different genes, which the French biologists knew would give you a plant that is vigorous, that would then resist the Roya. The other thing is they have very high production, which means they need a lot of fertilizer. The fertilizer comes from the trees. It comes from all the pulp. All the pulp goes into the compost. And in the compost goes all of the waste from the kitchens in both houses, all the peels, banana peels, everything goes in the compost. Anything organic goes in the compost. Anything organic. Okay, these varieties were made originally, the original method. And then the problem with making clones from little splinters, little pieces, it's very expensive. And it would be too expensive for selling the plants. They can't sell the seeds. These are seeds. You can't plant this variety by seeds because this variety is a cross between two specific plants. And the offspring, the seeds, are not going to give you the same thing. That plant over there, yes, that is dying, right over there, that's dead, virtually dead, that is a Mundo Maya that a bird planted by accident. The birds eat coffee, then they fly around and they poop out the coffee. And it was not resistant because it was not original cross. Then the French biologists, and there were Mexicans involved in this too, said we cannot sell plants that we're making from cloning by hand. It's too expensive. So they invented and patented a process here in Dos Rios, south of Jalapa. They patented a process. The patent must be worth millions of dollars, because what the patent is it's called somatic body. This is body. Embryogenesis, generating embryos from the body. So what they do is they take the leaves from the two different varieties that they want to cross. They put it in a big liquidora, huge. And then they put in organic substances that draw out embryos. And then with a gigantic pipetta, it must be enormous, they take and they drop that in really fertile soil, and every drop is a plant. That's where all of these plants have come from. We planted 15,000 of them that are made by that process called somatic embryogenesis that was patented, and the patent must be good for other types of plants too, other agricultural products, that process.
So this was sown like that with drops?
Well, that's where the plants came from. We buy the plants.
Oh, you buy
The plants cost 10 pesos a piece, which is not that much, but most coffee growers cannot afford anything. So very few people would have this variety because it's too expensive. In addition to the 10 pesos for the plant, there's the digging of the hole, and each plant that's planted new gets a kilo of lumbricomposta, so that it has a lot of energy to start. And so that's what all these plants are there. That building down there is a hand-dug well, which has a pump, but also if the pump doesn't work, you can drop a bucket down and get fresh water out.
Two questions. Are they self-pollinating then? Like this? They're self-pollinating? How long do they
The
live?
coffee is self-pollinating. They pollinate themselves. Insects can help, but they're really self-pollinating.
They don't need another cross.
No,
for this
no, they don't
type.
need. No.
And how long will they be productive?
They
How many
will.
years?
They will last about 30 years. They live about 30 years.
Wow.
Well, how long does it take to they come into production?
That's another thing that's an advantage of this that the French biologists made. They wanted a plant that was precoce. It starts producing in year 3, which is important because you want to get your investment back. So they start producing in year 3. The other thing that they planned, and they planned it correctly, as you can see, is they wanted a plant that would grow a maximum of 2 meters, so that even little short people like me can pick most of the coffee. In many places they get paid by the kilo, and it's not very much. We pay them by the day. They get paid by the day. The reason they're paid by the day is not so that we're so generous. It's that we want them to only pick the most mature ones. These ones that are red. The ones that have, like that one that has green in it, no. They can't pick that one. If they pick that one, they're going to get a warning from the ranchero, and the next one he sees like that, bye. You can't stay here. We only pick red because the red ones give you a coffee that is sweet, it is mellow, and it doesn't give you acid in the stomach. Acid in the stomach from coffee comes from the green ones like that. And
I'll vouch for Cliff. I drink 4 or 5 cups a day at least of his coffee. So
yeah, we drink it all day long.
how many
We're so used to-
cortes do you have? Is it usually?
Well, it's done in waves because the plants are flowering at different times, so then they will have production at different times. So it goes in waves because the pickers will pick the most mature ones, but they will leave the ones that have some green in it, like that one, for later. Now, many cafetaleros do not do that. And the pickers pick everything, and then you get coffee that is harsh. In Spanish, astringente. That's why people put sugar in coffee a lot of times. It's stringent coffee from Brazil. So they put coffee in it. Our coffee is naturally very sweet. And this is true of almost all coffee from Mexico, not just from here. But all coffee that grows in a cold climate. The northern part of Mexico is colder, and usually coffee in fincas is at 800 meters, 1,000 meters or above. The colder the climate, the less alkaloids. Alkaloids cause this.
Right.
Nervousness, anxiety, and insomnia.
What is the height here? What height?
1,300 meters.
1,300.
The café de altura.
It's just about perfect because if you get up too much higher, when you start getting up to 1,500 meters, then you get freezes in December, and the freezes will freeze the bean. They will freeze it, and if the thing is frozen, it will be dark instead of green, and it's a defect that should get thrown out because it makes the coffee bitter. So we're lucky for global warming destroyed the finca in one sense because global warming brought the Roya, which killed all of the old plants. There's one surviving there. That could be one of the very few ones. Past that thing up there, it's kind of at that angle. That is an old typica, which is not resistant. And they're all dead except for, I think that's the only one. There may be another one up here around. Oh, thank you. Oh, I love them both. I love the cashews. Thank you.
Oh, I like your solarium. That's nice.
Thanks.
Very nice. You don't mind if I videotape, do you?
No, go ahead.
Thank you.
Go right ahead. Anything you want.
I love the beams. Any of these beams come from Canada in this house?
Well, I think the big ones.
That big one is. Okay, yeah. What stands to reason the other ones out there did. That's so interesting. Wow.
Looked like this, all full of plants. In 2014, they were dying, all dying. All the leaves were falling down. In Teosala, which for some reason got hit worse. I think it has something to do with acid rain. There were fincas that...
So there's paper. Okay, so this is a paper over top of the seed here. Okay, there's the. So that's the paper. And this is the seed.
Yeah, he said to taste it, but it wasn't sweet.
No, these ones you taste.
Those were sweet.
Yeah, these are the ones you taste. That's the ones you. There's two. They said there's normally two, and there's two.
So they're not dry yet. Oh, that's what you're tasting.
Yeah, the seed inside of here. Yeah, and it is sweet. Interesting. All right, my friends, wasn't that a fun adventure? I hope you guys learned something there. We sure the heck did. Now, our dear friend had mentioned earlier that they don't do the complete drying process there, nor do they roast it there. It gets shipped off to a company in Coatepec that does that for them, as well as the packaging. Now guys, we did buy some coffee from Clifford, and I can contest the coffee is absolutely delicious, and you could tell that it was a little bit sweeter than a normal coffee that we have been buying here in Xalapa. But I do need to add a little bit of sugar to my coffee. Anyway, my friends, I am not quite sweet enough. And as he had stated, the coffee is 100% organic. Alright guys, we're going to go for a little drive here in Coatepec and head out and grab some ice cream with our dear friends Roy and his wife. You might as well come for a short little drive, and that will conclude our tour for today, mis amigos. Thank you so much for being here, my friends. We really appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next one. God bless everybody out there. Peace on earth. And as always, please be kind to one another. Hasta luego.